Westbrook Health Services has been supporting the surrounding community since 1949 and is known as an agency that is community-focused, people-driven. As one of West Virginia's 13 comprehensive behavioral health centers, Westbrook provides services to 8 counties throughout the Mountaineer State and became one of the first comprehensive community behavioral health clinics in West Virginia in 2020. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the generous help of the Sisters Health Foundation. This year marks 25 years since the foundation awarded its first grant, and we couldn't be more grateful for their support. Welcome to Studio 2121.
Hello, welcome to Podcast Studio 2121. I'm Kevin Trippett, your host, and before I introduce my guest, I would like to talk about a couple of things. We are on 4 platforms. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Anchor, so if wherever you like to get your podcast, please subscribe to Westbrook, to the Studio 2121. That way you can get any updates when we release new episodes. We hope to release a new episode every 2 weeks. And if you are enjoying the content, please leave a review so that we can encourage others to log on and listen as well. So today my guest is Kendra Johnson. She is a therapist with us in our Pleasants County office. She currently lives in St. Mary's, but I think, Kendra, you were born and raised somewhere else?
I was born in Jackson County, so
okay.
Sandyville. Went to Ravenswood High School, so that's where I hail from.
So how'd you end up in Pleasants County?
A job many moons ago. I had just graduated with my bachelor's, and I had traveled all through college and hadn't been home. So I thought I'll come home and see my parents for a while before I take off again, and I never left. But Colin Anderson Center. I got on the registry and got a job at Colin Anderson Center, and that's where I met Joanne Powell. And
yes, we've had a lot of employees that at one time worked with Colin Anderson Center.
Yeah. It was. We all laughed, say we should write a book. It would. Yeah, I'm not sure we could publish it, but it was. It was good times.
Yeah. How'd you end up at Westbrook?
Let's see. Originally, I worked here a long time ago. I met, Marilyn and Pasquarelli and Charlie back in those days. It was in the 80s.
Okay.
And I had worked at Abraxas and left there, and Stuart Phillips hired me I worked here about a year, and then I went to Marietta Memorial and worked there for 15 years, and my last job was on the psych unit there, and when they closed down the adult psych unit, I called Joanne and said, I need a job, and so I've been here ever since.
Yeah.
2009, I think it was,
okay.
Yeah.
So you've been a therapist with us since then, but you've also worked as our county director in the Pleasants County office.
Yeah.
And so we were really, at that time, we were just trying to grow it out. It was a newer venture for us, and I think things have gone pretty well. So.
Especially since Seth took over.
Yeah.
Being a manager was never my forte, so being a therapist is what I do.
So how did you get into being a therapist?
I think it's just kind of who I am. I don't know. I always knew I wanted to be a social worker from the time I was little. And, so I worked with my bachelor's for several years. And then, I don't know, I went back and got my master's. I was about 40, I think, when I got my master's. And it just, it's not even like a job to me, because it's what I do,
Right.
And, but it's just very rewarding, and, to help people find their best self, so I think it's, like I said, it's probably been my passion since I was a little kid.
Yeah. Psychotherapy is one of the main services that we offer, and it's really necessary for a lot of individuals to achieve the success that they deserve and strive for. So it's great. It's a great field. So one of the things when I first wanted to do this podcast, actually this idea of doing a podcast came to me a long time ago. We had an individual, his name is Derek Snyder. You remember Derek? Yeah, he was our division director for children's services, and so he mentioned to me that about podcasting and how we could help individuals doing it. And they recorded one. Nancy Creighton did a bullying podcast.
Yeah.
The podcast she did, though, was solo. It was just her talking about bullying. And that was a long time ago. And we never really did anything with it. But I started listening to podcasts when I was running. I listened to a lot of running podcasts to try to improve what I do from nutrition and training standpoint. And it just came back to me that this is something I really want to do for Westbrook.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really want us to do in this podcast series is hit on some topics, some different behavioral health issues that people may be dealing with in the community, and how we may be able to give them some skills as they're listening to this. They can maybe find something relatable, find something that they can do in their personal life to help manage any potential issues that they have. So when we talked in preparation of this one, and you graciously agreed to do this, we talked about helping individuals with depression. What can we talk about with depression, with what are some signs and symptoms of depression, how you can manage it, when do you need to get help, those sorts of things. So if you don't mind, do you want to start with maybe what depression is and maybe some signs and symptoms?
Sure. Well, depression is a very physical thing. I mean, we call it mental illness, but it's a whole body experience and illness. And we all have down days or sad days or whatever, but this is more of a losing interest in things, just don't even have the energy or the drive to get out of bed. Nothing looks fun anymore, kind of thing. It can present as irritability as well, but it just is. I have suffered depression and on medicine, and I've been to therapy, and so I know from a firsthand experience that, I always felt like it was this dark, heavy cloud that just was pushing on me all the time. No matter how much I put my happy face on, it was always there. So that's kind of how I describe, depression.
Okay. I believe there's such things as individuals dealing with depression all the time versus seasonal depression.
Oh yeah. Seasonal affective disorder. We all, I think, are affected by time changes and weather and that sort of thing. I think that goes across the board. But there are some folks who, when it starts getting darker and colder and that sort of thing, it becomes very, very difficult for them to manage, and so that's a seasonal affective disorder.
Okay. So winter times usually. Do you guys, or do you see more individuals at that time of the period of the year?
Well, or the folks that we do see, is just exacerbated. We just kind of know, and our clients pretty much, they know themselves. It's they've lived it, so they know going in. They'll talk about it. Boy, it's coming. I know it's coming, and I've had clients that are pleased because it wasn't as bad this year. So it's something that they just deal with, all the time.
Okay. So if I was having struggles over the winter, it was hard for me to get out of bed. I just wasn't feeling right. What are some things that I should be attuned to know what are some things, if I see those things, what are some things I can do personally that may help deal with whatever situation I'm dealing with?
Well, this applies to, the wintertime, but I guess I probably am just going to go more into just a general what to do about, because it applies across the board.
Okay.
Yeah. When I'm evaluating somebody or meeting someone for the first time, I really listen for what I call a chemical depression and or experiential or situational depression. And there's a big difference in that. Some people have a chemical imbalance that they can be doing everything right. They can be exercising, they can be eating right, they can be in great relationships, and still just be horribly depressed. That is a kind of a dead giveaway that this is chemical. It's beyond their control. And then, and so, that person needs medication to help them manage their brain chemistry. And then there are folks who, based on, it could be lifestyle, a lot of it's thinking, if they're, just kind of a negative person, they can get themselves into a depression. Things can happen. It could start with grief. It could be a lot of things. But those folks can benefit from medication as well. And medication isn't for everyone, but those are the times when I, bring it up and say, this is probably going to help you get better, And that applies to seasonal affective disorder, because I have clients that, of course, I don't prescribe medicine. That's not my purview. But, I have clients that will start taking an antidepressant, September, October, and then go off of it, and that works well for them. And then there are those folks who have, just a continual chemical imbalance that, they have to take it all the time. But the gold standard for depression really is, medication and therapy.
Okay.
Medication can do really good things, and psychotherapy can do really good things. But putting them together is what kind of covers all the bases. Obviously the medicine takes care of the chemical imbalance, but therapy works on how a person looks at things, their perspective, and I tell my clients, if they'll tell me something, they'll like, give me your perspective on, and I'll say to them, if anyone had this perspective, they would be sad, they would be depressed. It is very, very much what we think, and how we look at things that creates how we feel. So that's a huge component in how to combat it. Like you mentioned, wintertime. It's personally, I kind of have projects. I have things that keep me interested. I like summer's my favorite time. I like just to be out and when I'm off work and just laying in my pool. But wintertime, I try to have projects or have books prepared that I'm going to read during the winter. Just anything to keep my mind active and not let my mind go to it's so dark, it's so gloomy, it's so that sort of thing. So
just curiosity from my standpoint. Does daylight savings time versus standard time, do you see any changes?
Yeah. Now I can't speak to like which one is better.
Right.
I'm hoping did that bill pass? I mean,
the Senate passed the bill, but it hasn't made it to the House yet to make daylight savings time permanent.
I hope it does, because I know myself and my husband. We complain for weeks after a time change. But I do see it in clients, and a lot of times they don't even realize. They just they come in and they're saying I just feel different, I can't and I that's what I think it is. It's just hard to make that kind of change in your biorhythms or whatever.
Right.
So I'm hoping it passes.
Change around all the time. So you mentioned they're situational versus chemical. In some situations, grief, maybe pain.
Oh, absolutely, pain. Oh, yeah, chronic pain is is very hard on a person's mental health. Their psyche. So, do you want me to address that or whatever?
Absolutely.
That one's hard because with some things, we can. Well, I guess it does come down to diverting, or getting yourself away from the source of distress. So if there's anything that can divert you from that, whether it's the grief, so then you find other things to take your mind to, so that you're not constantly camping in that grief spot. Now with pain, I'm not necessarily an expert on that, but what I have worked with my clients on is some of it's cognitive behavioral therapy, and a lot of it's mindfulness, is finding those times throughout the day when you can find that place or that spot or that environment where the pain eases, and then using mindfulness, being present in the moment and using that relaxation, and you can use it in a lot of different ways, focusing your mind on visualizations or pleasant thoughts, or that sort of thing. And it's just like how depression hurts. Depression can physically hurt, So then you bring that in with actual, physical pain, So the other side of that is true, I believe, that, positive thinking, meditation, relaxing, just, taking your mind to that place is going to affect the mood, and it'll also affect the body, So I think that's really, really important to do, to develop your own regimen, how to soothe yourself.
I don't know that I've ever heard that before, that just having depression can cause physical pain.
Oh yeah. I believe, again, I'm speaking from a layman's perspective, on a lot of this, but fibromyalgia is associated with depression and that sort of thing. I think, I'm sure if Dr. Limegrover was here, he could give me some statistics and studies about this, but I know that depression makes things worse, in terms of physical pain, and it's...
So it makes you more acutely aware of maybe little tweaks and twinges you have a little bit here or there.
Yeah, and I think usually if a person's depressed, they're thinking negatively, and so that affects their brain chemistry, which puts out a lot of things that it courses through the body. It's just like anxiety, gets adrenaline going through your body, and you feel the effects of that. It's a physical response. I believe that depression does the same thing, and basically any negative thinking. I tell people I'm allergic to negativity. It makes me sick, Yeah. And so that's I think any time a person is thinking negatively, they're putting out bad juju. They're putting out bad stuff into their system. And I mentioned mindfulness a little bit ago. I watched it was a seminar online. And I was amazed at this study that was done, at Harvard, and about the act of bringing your mind back to the present, being present in the moment, practicing presence. That creates a chemical in your brain called telomerase, and telomerase is the building block of telomeres. And telomeres they're actually on your DNA, and it is it's an indication of health. And the longer the telomeres, and like I said again, I'm talking very much a layman here, but the longer the telomeres is an indication of longevity, health, well-being.
Okay.
That really impressed me when I watched that seminar. So I've incorporated a lot more mindfulness into my practice, and I, like I said, you can use it. You can use it for meditation. You can use it just for focusing away from pain. I mean, I know there are people who can use their mind to have surgery without anesthesia.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean.
Mine can be pretty powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the more that we harness that, the better we're going to be.
If I'm dealing with some minor symptoms of depression, I'm just sad more often than I'm usually accustomed to. Is there some techniques, some things I can do with mindfulness that can help me maybe manage that on my own before it gets worse?
Sure. Actually, I think the biggest bang for your buck is to be thankful, to be grateful. if a person finds themselves more sad than usual, obviously they're thinking something, there's something going on, and and I tell folks, don't camp there, because if you camp there, that's where you're going to be, and it's just going to, it's going to be a constant state. So if and I have to do this. If I kind of have an inner voice, or inner monitor, I guess. I'm always assessing, okay, how am I feeling today? What's going on? Because I've not paid attention, and I've gotten myself into a pretty significant depression, even on medication, because I wasn't paying attention, So I read a book called 1,000 Gifts, I think it was, Ann Voskamp. But it's about being, using gratitude and thankfulness, and man, it works. So, a few years ago, I was having some problems with a granddaughter, and I was thinking about it too much, and I got myself into a depression. And so what I did every morning, I'd wake up and I'd start being thankful, thankful for a roof over my head. I'm thankful for this soft bed, wish I didn't have to get out of it,
Yeah.
But I began to just be thankful for everything, and by the time I'd get to work, I was better, and eventually, it didn't take long, eventually my mood had lifted because I wasn't only looking at the thing that was making me sad. So that's kind of my go-to, and I think it works. I think it works across the board for everybody.
So really it's about a mindset change, not focusing on the bad, but focusing on the good. And for some, that's harder than others. And it probably takes practice, just like when you want to get better at anything else. I like to golf, but if I golf once every month, I'm not going to be as good as if I golf once every week.
Absolutely.
So it's about practicing and being in tune with what you're thinking.
It is. They say it takes 28 days to build a new habit, that kind of thing. And I took a course in hypnotism, and the instructor said you can do the very same thing with CBT or in your own, thinking something, like a hypnotic suggestion. I can give that to you here, under hypnotic, your brain waves are at a certain open level, or you can do that every day for 28 days and have the same thing.
Okay.
So it is very much perspective, mindset, and it has to be intentional, because negative thinkers, and I used to be a negative thinker. I was kind of a positive person on the outside, but inside I was always seeing the dark, the challenges, the struggles. That's and when I changed the way I looked at things and my focus, game changer, total game changer. So.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So how do I know if practicing these skills just aren't working for me? I'm getting worse and worse. When do I need to seek professional help?
I think, long before this, but I definitely will say if a person really doesn't want to live, they're not necessarily suicidal, they're not planning anything, but they just feel like, I wish this were over.
They just have no more motivation.
Yeah, it's probably even more deeper than that. I mean, they truly want the lights to go out. That's when you definitely know that, that's not normal, and you need to seek help. But before it gets to that, I think it's it's kind of like quality of life, but you kind of need to pay attention to loved ones too, what they're telling you, because sometimes you can't see it. It becomes your norm. And if somebody's saying to you, you seem different, or you don't seem the same as you used to, or, you start getting those kind of messages, I think, it's time to pay attention, because people can see it long before we can sometimes. And I'll give you another example from my own life. We're in the business and we don't take our own advice. I went off my medication, and because I was feeling better, wonder why I was feeling better. I don't know. I don't need this medicine. So I went off of it, and I don't know how long it was afterwards, but I say suicidal, but I got to that point, and I kind of woke up and I thought, I have a great marriage, good church family, got a good job. I've got, there was no reason, but I just wanted to check out, And then it was like, duh, it's because, because of my brain chemistry, it was that pronounced. I was trying to think, Dr. Worthington. Do you remember Dr. Worthington?
Yes.
She worked at our office, and she came in and she was kind of she looked like a linebacker to me,
Right.
But she came in and kind of slapped me around a little bit and said, "Take your medicine."
Gave you a reality check.
Yes, very much so. And I have not been off of it since. I'm afraid she'll come back. She was a good doctor. I liked her.
So, as an employer, I think some of the things we can look for is an employee that may be missing a lot of work, maybe with their performance has done a 180. Sometimes that might be a sign that they don't want to work for you anymore. But there's others. So we try to offer EAP help, have talks with individuals to see if we can assist them in any way to get the help that they need. But there's still barriers to treatment, stigma. People feel like, I don't want to admit that I have a mental issue to deal with. I'm sure you have clients that come to you reluctantly.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's one reason why, I try to make the experience as comfortable and casual, I guess. I'll offer them coffee. I've set my office up almost like a little library sitting room. I try to make the experience not sterile or off-putting. Those for that reason. But I just lost my train of thought.
We know taking care of your mental health is just as important as your physical health, and the two are often linked.
I remember what I was going to say. One of the over the years, I have developed a kind of a focus for my therapy, and it revolves around everybody creating their best life. And so when you're mentioning about missing work and those kinds of signs that something's amiss, there's a disturbance in the force, and so each person who comes in, I work with them to create their best life, and their best life looks different than anybody else's, but it's about them finding that, and it may be, you need to get another job. This job isn't working for you. You're not happy,
right.
And so, I think that's probably a good thing for people to, think about too, to kind of look inward and do that internal assessment and find those areas that aren't working for them, and work hard to change that or make it as good as you can, create your best life. And I truly believe that in every one of my clients, doesn't matter what they come to me for or with, if I can start at the foundation of how they see themselves, radical self-acceptance. There's a lot we beat ourselves up a lot, but if I can work with somebody so that they can achieve that radical self-acceptance, this is me, such as I am, this is me, and then eventually to move into celebrating their differences or their uniqueness or accepting things about themselves that, that maybe they don't like, but, this is me, and so if I can get a person there, if I can get a person thinking in a good perspective, positive and not negative, and, some of those foundational things, then that person can then kind of handle their own stuff. They can handle their own stuff. And so that has kind of become the focus of all my therapy is kind of starting from the inside out and the foundational stuff. But people can do that on their own, I'm just kind of the guide, but everybody can do that. They can look inward and see see what's not working for them or areas and not. When a person can achieve radical self-acceptance and not, get out of the whole, guilt and shame and blame and you're bad and whatever, and just this is me, so that when they look inward, they're not cringing, they're not looking at things going, oh, I wish, and a lot of people do that, but if we, once they get to that place of this is me, then they can look at the areas of their life objectively. They're not attaching some kind of negative value to it, so they can be okay within themselves and say, I need to look at where I am in my job. I need to look at where I'm in my relationship, or I need to look at in my case, like how physical I am. Right. You need exercise, Kendra. Yeah. But to look at those things objectively and say, these are things that would improve, my quality of life, my best life. So anyway.
Yeah. With helping individuals try to get better, one of the things that I've often heard is increasing your physical activity can help. I think it raises your levels of the dopamine, which can help with behavioral issues that you're dealing with. Do you often see that change with individuals that you're working with?
I think it's an indication of they're like if they're more active, if they're doing things, if they're engaged, definitely. I mean, obviously that's a sign that they're doing better. You mentioned dopamine, and and again, this is I read a lot, but I don't know too much. But we talk, you hear about the runner's high and those kind of things. I'm sure there may be other things involved in that, but I feel confident that dopamine is involved in that.
Sure.
So. And the effects of, like, if people who take substances, and you can kind of almost blow out your dopamine receptors, because of it's like a real high, and then
overstimulation.
Overstimulation. That's a good way of putting it. And I say blow it out, but yeah, so exercise and just being active and engaged and that sort of thing is definitely, it's been proven from studies.
I know when I'm lifting weights or when I'm running, there's a point where I feel like I get a lot of mental clarity. It's really interesting, and sometimes some of the a lot of ideas we implement at work come to me while I'm exercising or working out.
I just got a mental image when you said that. You know how, like, if somebody who's flying and they push, the plane pushes, and then it just levels out, and there's that was the mental image I got when you said that. I think that's probably true. You push, and then you hit that high point, and then you just kind of, you're up above the clouds, And
I don't think you have to be a runner. To exercise. I think walking. I mean, just if you go out and try to just be physically active 20 minutes a day, I think it really could help, especially someone who's dealing with depression.
Yeah, even just perspective, getting out of the house, or yeah. You've encouraged me, Kevin. I will try.
Sometimes it's that first step.
Yes.
So you're an author. Yes. You've written, I believe, 3 books.
Yes.
Do you mind telling us a little bit about your books?
Of course I don't mind. This was my therapy. I started the original book, oh gosh, I don't even want to tell you how long. Well, I'll tell you how long it's been. In the original story, my antagonist was from behind the Iron Curtain and was a Russian. Okay. So then when the wall fell, I was like, gosh, what am I going to do now?
Well, it's kind of relevant again today.
Yes, it is. Oh,
unfortunately.
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah.
But so anyway. Then my antagonist was someone from the Middle East, and it was all this subterfuge and world conspiracies and stuff. But anyway, but that was my outlet. I love stories, I love mystery, I love romance, and I love to travel. So I put that all into this novel. I call it a Christian romance adventure is what I call it. But I love developing the characters, and they became, real to me. And as I would write, I didn't know what was coming. So I'd be writing, and I would tell people I would just kind of go up to a door, and I didn't know what was on the other side, but I'd open the door, and I mean, it was talk about dopamine. That was a high for me to write those books. So it ended up it's a trilogy, and. It was self-published. I mean, I went through like HarperCollins. I mean, it was a good publishing company, but it wasn't like I had an agent and they came looking for me. So, do you want me to segue into what?
Yeah. What are your titles of your books,
okay.
and where can you find them if someone's interested in
Okay.
them? Yeah.
I call it the Once trilogy.
Okay.
The first book is Once a Long Time Ago. The second book is Once in a While, and the third book is Once and For All.
Okay.
And I wrote under my pen name because I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
My initials are KGJ, so I wrote under KAYGJAY is my pen name.
Okay.
And but basically, if you go on Amazon, just look up Kendra G. Johnson, and it'll take you to those books. Now, I don't know how many they have left, so actually, probably your best bet is to just get a hold of me, because I've got lots of them.
Okay.
And I can autograph them. But I do that. Several employees here, reached out to me, and I've autographed them and just mailed them to them, that sort of thing. So
Great.
That's probably the best way to get them.
That's awesome. So, from your books, I'm hearing rumors that you've got something lined up in the works for maybe a movie production.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That came. Let's see. Short story long.
Yeah.
My publisher had a cruise where we could go, and there were like seminars, and we met people and stuff. And I met Kevin McAfee. He's a director, movie producer and director on that cruise, and his wife was with him, and she and I struck up a friendship. And so anyway, 2 or 3 years later, he had a program called Books to Film. And because of my friendship with Lynn, his wife, I was hesitant, And so I was sitting. I remember it was Christmas. I think it was 2020, maybe. And I just, sometimes I think the Holy Spirit moves you. And I was sitting there, and I thought, I'm gonna put my, toss my hat into the ring, And so I didn't contact them. I went through the official, website, and I just, did it as if I didn't know them. And the way it turned out was Kevin was planning to shut that thing down. He'd been doing it for about 10 years, and he's my age. So he said, I've got so many films in the works that I can finish, So he was going to shut it down. Mine was the last one that came in. He recused himself from the process, and so my books were adjudicated by a panel of people that are in the business. And, I know every flaw that my book has, So I'm always surprised books have. I'm always surprised when people really, really like them. But it got really high marks, and he told me that I was one of 2 out of 400 and some that they've adjudicated that I had the highest marks, and everyone on the panel felt like that needed to be turned into a movie.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Yeah, that was talk about a high again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so it's been a road. The initial fundraising, I'm involved in like the fundraising of getting investors in this initial process of getting the script written by a guild union screenwriter, because you can't sell anything in the business, in whatever, without having it being a part of the union. So, paying for that and that sort of thing. And once all of that is done, then Kevin is going to get the however many $5 to $7 million it takes to make a movie, and then he goes and gets those investors, because that's definitely out of my league.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hot off the press. I've made arrangements with Odyssey Theater in Marietta to have an evening. I'm renting one of the theaters, and it's going to be in April. We haven't picked the date yet, but Kevin's coming up from Nashville or Franklin, And he's going to screen one of his movies, and then talk about my project. And it's a fundraiser. You know, it's hoping that people will want to invest, you know, in this aspect of, you know, this initial phase of getting the movie done. I think Kevin is going ahead. I mean, they're working on the screenplay right now.
Okay.
I mean, he hopes to start filming this fall, is what, you know, and he wants to film in this area. So, you know, I don't know. I still think this is not really happening. You know, this is not happening. But, you know, we'll see. It is.
Well, if you have any scenes where you have people just standing around in the background, I can do that.
I've got all the background. I've got people in outdoor cafes drinking coffee, you know, so I'll call you.
All right, awesome.
I want to be in it too. I want to be a bit player in this.
That's right.
Yeah. So he's really excited about, you know, coming up here, and you know, his Lynn, his wife, actually, she was an interior designer, and she actually did when it was Health South. She, you know, she came to Parkersburg several times. It's been a while. It's probably been redecorated since then, but she did the design and the decorating for Health South.
Oh wow.
You know, that's not Health South anymore, but whatever it is. Yeah.
Genesis, is that right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm not sure, but
that's awesome.
So.
Well, good. Before we get into, I like to end with 3 questions.
Okay.
I just want to, for our listeners, just to remind them that if you are dealing with depression, please don't be afraid to seek help.
Absolutely.
It is important to live a great life, and having good mental stability is important for that. So I know often people just don't want to do that, but I think it's important.
Yeah. Well, and people who are in the business are in it because they want to help. So, you know, don't be afraid to, you know, to reach out, because you're going to be met, you know, with compassion, and, you know, because that's why we're here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we don't judge.
No.
We want you to be better. Awesome. So my final 3 questions.
Okay.
All right. So what motivates you?
Doing good, I guess. Doing good. You know, I'm a Christian, so I think a lot about, okay, God, am I doing what you want me to do? Am I being a stinker here, or, you know, what am I, you know, because I am a stinker, and but, you know, so that, you know, that motivates me. But I feel good doing good. You know?
Awesome. How about dealing with stress? How do you manage stress?
I laugh a lot. I probably, that's, you know, And you know, in my journey with my own depression, being positive, staying away from negative, you know, I don't watch the news at all anymore. I pick and choose. I'll kind of put my toe in. I'll go into like BBC and listen to their news, because America, you know, we politicize everything. I can't stand that. So you know, I will, you know, just kind of put my toe in, see what I need to see, so that I'm informed and back out. So I, you know, staying away from, you know, from negativity. I forgot what your question was. Oh, it's stress, yeah.
Yeah, dealing with stress.
Yeah, and just, you know, I like to laugh, you know, be lighthearted. But then on the other hand, you know, I like to read. I like to, you know, dig into things. I love history and mystery, and, you know, so those kinds of things will take me away, you know. Romance, you know, you know, anything that can take me away from, you know, and I, you know, as you all know, I work 3 days. I know, and I tell my clients, because I start at 8 and sometimes I go to 8.
Yeah.
And you know, I tell people I'll kill myself for 3 days so I can have that long weekend. You know?
Yes.
But yeah, it's being able to recognize, is this the day I need to stay in my jammies all day? You know, doing that inward thing. Okay, what do I need today? Is this the day I need to get this house cleaned up, or this is I need to go visit a friend? But it's that I pay attention.
Yes.
And then I do what I'm seeing and hear that I need. So.
Great. Last question.
Okay.
What do you love about Westbrook?
I love the spirit of Westbrook. You know, I mean, obviously I know people personally who who really care, and they're very they just care about people and about, and I have to say, I'm not doing this because you're sitting here. But, I think it starts from the top down, and, it's having that, that your bottom line or your main motivation is to help people, obviously we have to be fiscally responsible, and thank goodness you numbers guys can do that. That never was my thing, but, as you well know. But so we, it's good to have that to be able to keep us solvent and that sort of thing. But it's just the heart. It's it's the heart of the people. And I tell you, I worked in places where I felt like people were unethical, and I have never ever seen that here. And when we saw it, it was dealt with, and that means a lot to me, because I can trust you guys.
Yeah.
I trust you guys, and so I think that, if I have to say, that's why I love Westbrook. They're ethical. They we do the right thing. And we fail, we mess up, and we're just like anybody else. But it's that ethical caring of people that makes me, stick around.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Great conversation, and I hope our listeners will have some inspiration to deal with any depression that they might be dealing with. So.
Yeah, and reach out, and you've inspired me to go start walking.
Great. There you go. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.